signals. G'day, welcome back to the lab. Progress continues on our Z32 300ZX NA that is converted to a twin turbo, and we're doing a little bit of a repair job on somebody's repair job. In the previous video we were doing the fuel system. We got the fitting that I may have mentioned that I was going to put on there, just like that. That's pretty good. It does need a clamp / bracket in between these two just here to hold this one, or something up there, because you can't just leave that. As I mentioned in the previous video, that wouldn't be any good. It doesn't comply. There's too much distance between here and the next supporting point. So that's no good, and it would also eventually just fatigue and fail. That's the return side, so just start pumping fuel overboard. We don't want that. There's been enough failures on this car due to silliness. So in the front here, radiator's back out. I put that in just to store it somewhere. It's back out because we have to shift the oil cooler back to the original side, which is in front of this brace. That has to go there because we want to put the fan in here, and we want to put the air conditioning condenser, which is just there. We've got a brand new one. I don't think you can buy those anymore. That's brand spanking new old stock. We've had that for a while. So pulled all the intercooler plumbing out to assist with that, and also to make sure that the $23,000 engine rebuild was done properly. It wasn't, because here's the original oil cooler for the vehicle, still in it. When you run a bearing and you have shrapnel go through the engine, you'll clog up your oil filter and it'll bypass, and bits of crap will go into your oil cooler. And I don't care who you are, you'll never get that clean again properly. It's just not worth the hassle. So you buy a new one and you fit a new one. That's not a new one, that's the original one to the car, so that has to go in the rubbish bin. I have a suitable replacement kicking around here, so that will go in there. There's a bit of a hint as to something I've found that they didn't do that they should have done. Here's more of a hint. When you have a catastrophic failure of an engine and turbos blow up, they pump out lots of oil. I'm not sure if you can see that. Lots of oil. You can definitely see that. Lots. Let's get the lighting. Where are we? Somewhere we're going to get good lighting. Oh, it's very difficult, isn't it? Get in there. There we go. Look at all that. It's a couple of spoonfuls, literally, of oil sitting in our intake system for the engine. That lowers the octane rating when that eventually makes its way up into the motor. Lowers the octane rating of your fuel system, basically, and causes detonation and explodies. Kaboomies. No more motors again. Again! We're going to take the intercoolers out, and we're going to clean those. Doesn't look like they've had any metal go through there. It's just oil, so that's fine. If I saw evidence of metal going in there, we'd be discussing replacing intercoolers. They're not that expensive in the scheme of things, compared to destroying motors over and over and over. So they got to come out, and actually that makes it quite easier to get on with our air conditioning install. Fair bit of stuff to tidy up. This isn't really a fail for a warrant of fitness, but it's getting to the point where it needs some attention on it, just to address it so it doesn't go any further. Amazingly, no one's put a jack under the lower radiator support. That's like the number one stuff up that everybody seems to do. This one's still very good condition. You can spot it from a mile away if the bonnet's not sitting right, if the bonnet's sitting a little bit high. It's because someone's put a jack under here and lifted up the car. It's not designed for that. It pushes that brace there up, and it pushes the bonnet latch, which is up there. There you go. And then the bonnet doesn't sit properly. So first thing to look at when you're looking for a 300ZX to buy, does the bonnet close properly? If it doesn't, no. Someone's put a jack on here, which means there's been idiots working on it, which means walk away. Okay, let's, speaking of idiots, let's take the intercoolers out and clean those up. Alright, that's those out. Back to having to clean up my bench. I think it's getting a bit out of control again. Yeah, that's not good. this tube would literally, I know there's a bit of a mark in that, isn't there? A bit of a mark indeed, beyond where the clamp is, so it's not really an issue, but something to look at. This one, we're literally pouring the oil out into a cup. Dirty fingers now. So significant amount of oil in this intercooler. It's a bit hard to see, poor lighting and all that. Get the torch, I guess, but it's no point. And so literally going to fill up a bucket with degreaser. It might have to be quite a large bucket. Fit these in and soak them and clean them out. You've got to be a bit careful when you're doing things like that, because anything that's in here, small stones and dust and dirt and all that sort of carry on, if you're doing it with a bucket, that's going to come out. It's going to go inside the intercooler. It'll be bad times. Bad. So we have to be a little bit diligent, a little bit careful with what we're up to. Clean. They look better on camera than they do in person. It's still, it's a bit hard to see, a little bit grubby, but you get that. The inside, it's about as clean as it's going to get without using solvents, which is a bad idea on silicone. I could replace, but I don't think there's much point. There are a handful of black ones from another brand that we could ditch and put red ones on, so it looks better, or we could go all black. But that's over to the customer if she wants to spend the money on those sorts of things. There was a free O-ring, fell out of one of the intercoolers while I was busy sloshing out the inside of them, cleaning the inside. Don't know where that's come from. Not really a big deal, unless it happens to jam the throttle, which in this case the thing was making pretty pathetic power anyway, so it wouldn't be a big deal. 300 and no, didn't even make 300, 290 something kilowatts, which is meh for the setup. Should have been a lot more than that. Or it could potentially go through and hold a valve open, and then you'd have a valve contacting a piston. So I mean, not good, but not, it's probably not the worst thing they've done. This is all, it's very hard to see inside here. It's dark, it's clean. It's clean enough. There's one or two ports that aren't used on this setup which could be blanked off. There's a couple of areas where it chafes that need some attention sorted out. This one will need repolishing. It was a bit scotty, so yeah, look at that, see. So I Scotch Brighted it. There's a few things that need tidying up if we want to get fussy with things. With the air conditioning going on, these blow-off valves that are on here, recirc, well, they're not recirc, they are blow-off valves, they don't recirc. These may need to go somewhere else so that things fit, and we can do a tidier setup. A couple of V-bands on there instead, perhaps. These ones are called Z1 RFL blow-off valves, and the RFL stands for really swear word loud. They actually came off a customer's car that I did poor old Jared did heaps of work on his car for him, got it mint as, and there was a big accident, and that was the end of the car. So I bought the wreck and I pillaged those for that one. So yes, RFL, and they are definitely, they're pretty cool though, so that's alright. Okay, it's midday. I need to go and have some lunch, and then we'll crack on. All these things need to be blasted out with air, sealed up so they don't get stuff in them while we're working on everything else, and we'll have a crack at, like I say, getting that into there. That has to come out first. That can come out and go straight in the rubbish bin. Okay, it's out of the way for now. I don't want to deal with the oil that's going to come out of there just right at the minute. So I've had a test fit in there of that. This is our brand new old stock condenser. No surprise that the foam on it is somewhat degraded after all these years. That's cool. I've got some replacement stuff here that I will put on. From memory, this is for the later model ones, and it's got different size fittings on there, which is fine because we're probably doing some custom lines anyway because of the turbo intake system that we've got on it, or boost pipe system. Going to have to locate some mounts, some rubber mounts that go in between here and the chassis. Now, they may or may not be the same in later model cars. It might be a trip to our mates at Nissan King and might be able to find something, or new old stock Nissan, or second hand from the local 300ZX people. We'll have to do something with the top mounts as well, because they're not there either. And we're going to need preferably put the factory fan back in here. We do have the plug to run the factory fan, that's it there. It's going to have a relay in that box there. One of those will say something, yeah, radiator fan. Probably won't be a relay in that particular spot. Nope, it's gone. So I've got heaps of these under the house, so we'll just put another one in that spot, and it'll run off the factory computer or wiring system for the aircon, etc. So that'll be good. Many days later, I've been doing other stuff and things and realised it's over a week since the last video. So let's have a look under the car. She's all dark and gloomy under here, but the camera doesn't seem to mind. There's that bracket that I was talking about doing to secure this. So that's done. That's fine. I'm pulling on that pretty hard to make that move. That one's absolutely fine. Good. Done. Intercoolers are cleaned, dried out, put back in, and as you can see, the red thing there blanked off, so they won't get any rubbish in them. There you go there. That's those back out of the way and back in the car. Oil cooler's still sitting in there, ready to be dispatched at some point in time into the bin. In the bin. Over here on our cardboard clad bench with the flickery lights that are constantly annoying us. There you go, they're gone. Turbochargers have been disassembled. These are all relatively good condition. There are a couple of tiny little marks on the inside of the compressor housings from where they've swallowed bits and pieces from the intake system not being cleaned out properly, but not anywhere near as bad as what I managed to do with the March, accidentally leaving a blank in the intake system and killing one of those pretty good. So the GT, I've got to get this right, lots of numbers to remember right here, GT2560Rs that were brand new, that were just put into the car. One of those has had its compressor wheel stolen to go into the GT2860RSs, which are the Disco Potato. Now they have those covers on them rather than these covers. There's advantages and disadvantages to both, so I'll make up my mind whether they go in or they go in. But the actual piece inside here that does all the work, that's the same as that. The compressor wheels are the same, so it doesn't matter where you have that cover on or that cover on as far as basic performance, except for the size of the intake here compared to that intake there, which then steps down anyway, and the arrangement, the configuration on the outlet of the compressor housing. So there's, again, it's an advantage and a disadvantage to both, so we'll just work out what we're going to do and deal with that. The core, so this piece here in the middle, not turbine housing, has gone off to, or is going off to Mr. Steve Murch. He will take that all apart for us and he will balance the rotating assembly that's in the middle here. You can't just take a compressor wheel off and put it on another turbo. Technically you can, right? So you can unbolt it and you can bolt it onto the other one. And it'll probably go. Well, it definitely will go. It'll run. How long it will run for is the question mark. And you don't want to run the risk of that Chernobyling and we kill another motor. And everyone laughs at Glenn because Glenn's done something silly. So we're not doing something silly. So in the meantime, exhaust manifolds have had a tiny bit of a... Oh no, that poor compressor wheel. Oh no. Oh, the poor thing. Oh, look, we've damaged it. I don't know if we have actually. They're pretty tough. Never mind. It's had a little bit of a linishing on the linishing machine. This is what we call witness marks. Well, some people will call witness marks, other people won't. You don't have to take everything off 100%. It doesn't have to be 100% mint, totally perfect like this. As long as it's within a reasonable amount of surface condition, you don't have to pull the whole lot off. But you can see quite clearly that there's a bit has come off in some places and not others. So these weren't flat, they weren't true. I showed you in the earlier video that they were leaking on the heads. So that's been rectified. These won't leak anymore. Certainly with new gaskets on there. The surface is well within tolerance for being fine. I could spend another half an hour on the linishing machine and get them perfect, but I'm not really interested in doing that. It won't achieve anything anyway. So let's try not to damage the core that's in here by bending the shaft. This is the housing for, just very carefully tip that over, there we go. That's the housing for a GT2560, which is what the car had in it. I think there are 0.86 housing on there, I'm not sure, it might be smaller than that. And these are the 2860s. The the turbine outlet is significantly bigger. There's technical names for them, we're not using them here today, this is layman's terms. The hole where the exhaust gases come out from the turbine is bigger on the 2860 than it is on the 2560. The outside diameter overall, where the fins are in here, pretty sure it's the same. I would have to look to confirm, but just looking at it visually, it looks the same. The thing that you get with that being bigger, again, I have to wash my hands. The thing that you get is the exhaust gas comes out easier, right? So there's less speed, but more gas overall. That's going to get too techo and people will argue about it. They spool up a tiny little bit slower, but then you can get more air out, more gas out at the top end without as much restriction. So effectively on this car, on this car with this motor, let's just pretend it's there, you'll get same power with less boost basically. So that's the goal there. Now I've tidied up a few things in here. It stands out really well on the camera. You can see there's some black zinc paint in there to get rid of the rust that was in this area here where the brake fluid has been spilt or has overflowed on the track or whatever over the years. That may be partially my fault or might be entirely someone else's problem, I'm not sure. And there was a bit down there, you can't even see that with your bare eyes, but when you put it on the camera it stands out. So we'll get some paint mixed up and we'll tidy up this engine bay. I'm probably not repainting the whole thing. It's almost at the point where you could and kind of argue that it's worthwhile, but by the time you put a VG30 DETT in here and you can't see anything but the top of the strut towers and the top of the inside of the guards up here, so probably not worth painting the whole thing. We just want to make sure it's corrosion protected rather, and leave it at that. A lot of inspecting, checking to do on the harness to make sure we're not going to have any problems with that. There are some birds on the roof and they are driving me insane. Alright, so that's where we're at. There's stuff being done to the engine stuff and things. There's a big list of bits to buy from Z1 Motorsports over in America. I just want to confirm exactly what's on that list and what we need and make sure the sizes are right for various different things, etc., and get that underway. We'll see some parts in a couple of weeks. We'll see some engine parts machined and back to us a couple of weeks. Turbocharger a week and a couple of weeks. So in a couple of weeks time will be Thunderbirds are go. I have to clean up the workshop, turn it into a engine rebuilding room, which takes a day or two. Get rid of the dust off the top of the beams and clean the heck out of everything and tidy up the benches and all that sort of carry on. And then we reassemble the engine properly with a torque wrench or two or three and the right fittings in the right places. put the thing back together, get it back in the car. So until then, there's a couple of other things I'm doing that may not be video worthy. There is progress on the BMW. I'll let you know as soon as we got something worth showing you. thanks for watching. Hope you have a good rest of the week. Maybe weekend, we'll see. Alright, cheers, bye.